And it's Tuesday, and welcome to the best political talk show that you have never heard of. This is Backroom Politics, recorded here live every Tuesday, 4 to 6 p.m., here in Washington, D.C. Around the table, as we are every week, is to my left, Congressman Al Swift.
Hello, how are you?
At my 12 o'clock, Bob Hines. And to my right, appropriately to my right, Alan Moore.
Proudly.
And we have a lot to talk about, but as most of you might be aware of, this being a political talk show, the RNC, the Republican National Convention, has started. And its first day was an amazing first day. We had Melania Trump. We had Chachi, a.k.a. Scott Baio. We had Antonio Sabato, that's right, an underwear model, Joni Ernst, and a few others all speaking at the RNC. But the very first thing that happened, or one of the first things that happened at the RNC, I'm going to turn to you, Bob Hines. If you could tell us a little bit about the little bit of a floor, there's a floor vote, a voice vote, talking about trying to possibly do a roll call to replace Trump. So what was happening there, Bob?
I haven't the faintest idea, quite frankly. I think they're a bunch of nuts. I was there watching it, and I couldn't believe it. It's ridiculous.
Well, which part of it was ridiculous? The fact that they didn't get the roll call vote?
No, but that was the good thing. That was the one thing was good. We didn't get a roll call vote. Can you imagine doing that?
Well, I mean, there were people that stormed out. Alan Moore, yeah. I mean, how do you think that affected the room?
Well, I disagree with Bob. I think that they knew this was coming. The big argument later, a roll call vote takes too long, and we had a tight schedule, which, of course, they violated almost immediately. They knew they had the votes, and if they didn't know it, then there's a whole other level of incompetence involved in running the convention.
Which is possible.
Entirely possible. But there are rules that say what you have to do if you want to bring a question before the entire convention. You have to get at least 7 state delegations to support it, and they had 11 delegations. They had multiple documents, multiple copies of signed documents, because they weren't sure that they were going to be received well. And it seems to me that the smart move for the convention, after all, they're not just trying to win a battle here. They're trying to unify this party. And so you give them the vote, you schedule it tight, you do it prior to prime time, you win the vote, you learn whatever the number is, but they were going to win it 2-1 at least. And then no one can say, you shut us down, you violated the rules, our rules, what kind of an example is this? And you really, really alienate a lot of folks who, yes, they wanted their say, they held on to a dream of perhaps prevailing, but I think they did more damage to themselves by angering people that they need a few short months from now than by simply saying, let's have the vote. Because the voice vote, there was people screaming aye and screaming no. It wasn't one of those obvious, the ayes the ayes appear to have it, the ayes have it, and move on. And then the guy leaves the stage. That's not a way to run something if you're trying to hold everybody together in the end. That's how it struck me.
So, Bob,
Yeah.
So is that normally how that kind of thing is done, or should they have actually done it in a different way to potentially bring people together? I mean, who do we think they lost by not doing it that way?
I'm not sure who they lost, but they look stupid.
How do you really feel, Bob?
I mean, it was ridiculous. Just totally ridiculous. I don't see why they got all tail rolled up. It was just dumb. And I've been assistant parliamentarian to 4 Republican conventions, and this one seems to be less organized than some of the past. Let me put it that way.
Are you suggesting this businessman, Donald Trump, doesn't organize himself well, Bob? I'm shocked. I'm shocked, I say.
Well,
It
you can
looked
be
like a
shocked.
Democratic convention.
Thank you, Al. Yes, it did.
Which actually,
we're really getting
for
down
the
there.
first time ever, I believe the show is equally numbered Democrats and Republicans. This might be a first. So actually, instead of following a formal order of the convention, let's just go for favorite moments of the convention. So, Alan, what's your favorite moment of day one?
Well, favorite.
Or favorite high or low? Let's go both sides of the
So
spectrum.
yeah, I mean, I didn't like the way that issue was handled. I just thought it was an unforced error by the part of the convention trying to maintain control and probably trying to please the Trump people. The big news out of the convention, sadly, was the Melania Trump speech, in which some 58 words were pretty much lifted verbatim from a speech that Michelle Obama gave 8 years ago at the Democratic Convention. That was an even bigger and more embarrassing primetime unforced error, and we haven't seen the end of it yet. I have to believe that when they finished last night, people were feeling good about Melania Trump's speech. People don't know her. They were quiet. They were respectful. They gave it a very good, positive response.
And she did an incredible job
She
delivering.
Delivered it.
And it was a fairly brief speech, blessedly, which we don't always get in any convention. And then, lo and behold, in the night, it is discovered. It was going to get discovered, but it was discovered by some former intern out in California, for whom some of the language rang bells. He Googled Michelle Obama's speech and discovered these parallels. Tweeted something, and then all hell broke loose. And then all morning, on all the talk shows and stuff, it kind of missed the papers, which was a good thing. But
Papers will carry it tomorrow.
They will, but they will have more to carry from today, some of which will be how ham-handed the Trump campaign managed it after the fact. Rather than say, wow, slip up on our part, the small team of people putting the speech together were sharing some other ideas, storylines. They picked up a few paragraphs, a few sentences.
In short, bullshit their way out of it.
Well, I mean, you could say bullshit. You think that it was intentional to
Absolutely.
say, let's go get some Michelle Obama language because that'll work really well for us. Come on, Al, that's idiotic.
The last part is, I don't think they thought it was going to work really well for them, but they had to know they were pulling stuff out of Michelle Obama's speech because it was too close.
Yeah,
No.
I suspect they didn't think they were going to
Here's
get
the
caught,
problem.
which is the more
Here's
amazing
the problem.
part.
Al says they. See, they don't have a they. They got about a half a dozen people. There's probably two or three people that were even in that chain, and maybe one or two who's probably committed
I
Harry.
think
By
that
now.
qualifies as
Or
a
been
they.
shot.
Well, so, we don't know. The thing is, their operation is so poorly managed, so slipshod, that a mistake like this could emerge. This wasn't some plan to do. This was an
completely agree.
idiotic breakdown in a system which is not prime time. It's not big league. It's not varsity. It's not ready.
It's not junior high school.
It was just so humiliating. And then by trying to say today, no, that didn't happen. Meanwhile,
This
all
is
the
not the
networks,
speech you were looking for.
all the networks are showing Michelle Obama's words and then identical words from Melania Trump.
Sometimes in split screen they were doing
Absolutely,
it simultaneously.
go back and forth,
Yeah.
and
In which case, I thought Michelle delivered it better when all said and done.
well, she doesn't. She was speaking in her native language, but it was. So one, it never should have happened in the first place. Two, they completely mishandled the aftermath. Paul Manafort has had about as bad a day and a half as you can have. Now, here's the great genius, experienced, successful guy who has been operating behind the scenes, suddenly emerges. Yesterday, he trashes John Kasich for his failure to come to the convention. Now, they're in Ohio. Kasich's very popular. Kasich won Ohio in the primary.
In a walk.
And you have to, every Republican who's ever been elected president has carried Ohio. And here's Paul Manafort, now possibly mouthing words that Trump said, yeah, go dump on him, who knows. But Manafort is supposed to have the sense to say, we don't need that battle. So he trashes Kasich and then gets all sorts of blowback. And then we have the Melania Trump, and then we have Manafort this morning saying, nah, it's just a few words. That's not what it was. She did a beautiful job. We had Joe Scarborough, with who I disagreed this morning, passionately saying Manafort threw Melania Trump under the bus. I didn't see it quite that way, but I'm thinking, why are we hearing from Manafort all of a sudden on issue after issue?
And why would he throw her under the bus?
He wouldn't. It was just, I think it was a ham-handed effort again to say, never admit mistakes. No, that's not what it was. Well, we just saw the side by side, and there's some, it's if you have an organization, when you write a speech like that, you run it through some computerized software that every college and university in the country now uses, and many high schools, where you just
either that or you actually write an original speech.
Well, stuff happens. It happened to Joe Biden. It happened to Barack Obama. It happens to people. It brought down Joe Biden when he plagiarized the speech of a British parliamentarian.
But in contrast, it's worth noting that when Biden did it and Obama did it, they did it amongst people who were at least of similar political beliefs, not reaching across the aisle to the current.
Come on. This stuff was milquetoast commentary about the values that somebody's parents brought forward. My only point is, this isn't the first time there's been some plagiarism, and it certainly wasn't as extensive as it was in some of these other highly embarrassing examples. But there is software on the internet that's widely available and widely used to look for parallel language. They obviously didn't even use that. So somehow Michelle Obama's words got in, stayed in, got delivered, and changed the whole nature of commentary.
So was this your favorite or least favorite portion?
There was nothing good about it. It's just that it was the standout takeaway, which is really sad.
Congressman Al.
Maybe someday we'll learn how that happened. I can't imagine anybody in the Republican hierarchy wanting that to have happened.
Of course.
So we'll find out about it. But backing away from that, she did a credible job giving a speech. I thought they did her a great disservice by showing both Michelle Obama and her, because Obama was relaxed and easy and sounded at least like she was ad-libbing, or she's a better teleprompter reader than Melania was. Yeah. And Melania, who was perfectly all right, when she was doing it by herself, looked very weak and kind of clumsy when in the contrast. So they took another good thing and turned it bad in the process.
Bob Hines, so what was your high point for yesterday?
I didn't see one.
Oof. Okay. Well, in which case, we'll turn to the low point. What was your low point from yesterday?
I think we're talking about it right now.
Okay, so Melania is the low point.
You didn't think that Trump appearing in a cloud of smoke, when he made his entrance?
Yeah, the giant white silhouette of Donald Trump
Didn't
stepping
that
out.
thrill you?
No, it didn't thrill me at all.
Dear,
I thought to myself, what are we doing? Is this